Where are we heading to? Empathy is the capacity to understand or feel what another person is experiencing from within their frame of reference. As Sanjay ji mentioned, put yourself in their shoes. Capacity to place yourself in another person's position. Science, unfortunately, is rigorous, systematic endeavor that builds and organizes knowledge in the form of testable explanations and predictions about the universe. Both these are Wikipedia definitions. Hence, we are dealing with a duality everywhere. When patients come to us, they come with despair, we offer them hope. They come with doubt, we have to give them belief. They are suspicious, we have to give them faith. They are skeptical about what's happening, we have to build trust. How do we go about it, and is it really the way that we should? The duality is there, even there. Diagnosis is like a police investigation. We are doubtful, suspicious, skeptical. And what are we expected to do? We are supposed to be truthful, transparent, and empathetic to achieve healing, which will only come if you have belief, faith, and trust. So on one side, you disbelieve, suspect. And on the other side, you're supposed to enable trust. Robert Owen, I quote, "God and doctor we alike adore, but only when in danger, not before. The danger o'er, both are alike requited. God is forgotten and the doctor slighted." 1 in every 100 doctors worldwide has been physically or verbally abused at least once in their lifetime. What are we now facing, and how are we going to go ahead? Why does this happen? This is because everything has to begin with why. Healing is the purpose, the why of treatment. Treatment is just a process, the how. And diagnosis, unfortunately, is a product of suspicion, doubt, skepticism. How can we reach healing when we are suspicious about diagnosis? The eyes do not see what the mind does not know. I am here to share what probably may open your eyes. We have a situation like this which is very, very common. We are sitting in our clinics. We have a patient's caregiver or relative who walks in. He is very unhappy because his patient is not doing well. Would you stop your consult and see him right there? Would you presently accept him in the consult and see him there without sort of accommodating anybody else? Would you politely have him seated in another room and see him after the present consult? Would you admonish him and get your support staff to wait outside? Well, at least number 4 is not possible today. I don't have the guts to do it. What I would probably request each one of you is to politely have him seated in another room and see him after the present consult. Give him a chance also to count from 1 to 5. This is the time to pause, think, and reconsider. Why is the patient unhappy? What is unhappiness? Unhappiness is when we start comparing our insides with what we perceive are other people's outsides. That is unhappiness. And what does this actually come from? Where are the seeds? The seeds are in the past, the perils of the past or the fears of the future. How do we sort them out? By being pragmatic in the present. The perils and the future fears have to be taken away and live in the now. Hence, there's always going to be some duality between empathy and science, because hard work is not a straight line to success. Everyone we meet in our lives is fighting a battle we don't know much about. We only know the outside and compare ourselves. Don't know what's happening inside them. Unfortunately, The outside, the metric, the science that we know, artificial intelligence that Neeraj talks about, is creating knowledge much faster than society gaining wisdom. For me, wisdom is far above knowledge. Knowledge is what you put in from the information. Wisdom is what stays in after you've thrown out the unnecessary part. Hence, knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. Wisdom comes to each one of us when we realize how little we understand about life and the world around us. Not said by me, but Socrates years back. Intelligence is a step down from knowledge. It's an interpretation of knowledge. But it should be above our emotions, and our emotions should be far above our personal desires. How do we control that? The 4 M's need to be controlled. Your mouth, your money, your mind, and your mood. As doctors, as human beings, as spouses, as caregivers, as relatives of any human being, personal emotions cannot come in the way of us performing our duty. A very important words that I've written, and think about it. Whatever you have the right to do may not be right to do. By scientific evidence, it may be right to do, but ethically, morally, empathetically, it may not necessarily be right to do. In medicine, 2 things always heal: time and silence. Silence is by being silent. And when you're silent, you have to listen. It's an anagram. The same letters are in listen and in silent. So listen silently. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Empathy is from within, science is from without. Challenge, my dear friends, is a kangaroo word. Remove the LLE, change is left. The LLE is an acronym for lethal, life-threatening ego. There is no challenge that we cannot change if we leave lethal ego out. And how do we have to handle this in any situation? Scientifically, we know what is to be done, but empathetically, how do we take the next step for our patient? Do we hold on to what we know, or do we let go? A very, very difficult decision. Intensivists faced it most of the times. We faced it at times post-operatively. Let go of your ego and let God. God, again, for me, is only an acronym. He is the generator, operator, and destroyer. You may call him by any name you want, but he is G-O-D. That is what he should be. And remember that whenever there is a metric or a doubt on one side which can be counted, scientifically you can doctor an invention. But if there is trust and empathy which comes from within, you can engineer a discovery. These are 2 different words, and they are on either end of the spectrum. Skeptics invent, believers discover. Doubt and despair lead to investigations and inventions in the outer world. It's faith and trust which leads to fearless and discovery in the inner world. That is where the empathy develops. Always remember that the knowledge of science is by tuition from outside, from without, while the wisdom of empathy is by intuition from within. And you have to develop it from within, without. Having thought of it all, we also happen to be surgeons. We can't just sit there empathizing, because at some stage we have to act beyond our thoughts. And that takes me to this small story. Early morning in Africa, a gazelle, that's the gazelle there, wakes up, it knows it must outrun the fastest lion or it will be killed. A lion wakes up. It knows it must run faster than the slowest gazelle, or it will starve. Ladies and gentlemen, does not matter whether you're a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you better be running. You can't sit there doing just kriya. You have to at some stage move ahead and do some karma. But is that the law of the jungle? Is that what Charles Darwin said? Charles Darwin very clearly interpreted survival of the fittest. But the law of the jungle says, hunt for need, not for greed. And I think as surgeons, we must operate for need and not for greed. If you look at it purely on suspicion and only on metrics and only on evidence, you can operate every patient. So please draw that line well in time. Only for need, not for greed. Never ever sell an operation. Always let the patient buy it. They should feel there's nothing else that can be done. Only then would you offer them an intervention. Having said that, we as humans are not logical. We are biological. The logic is here. The biology is here. The head conceives, the heart believes, and only then the hand achieves. We are headstrong most of the time as medicos. We feel we've achieved a lot. There's pride, there's hubris of the head. And later in life we realize humbleness and humility of the heart was far, far more important. At certain stages we felt that we were the smartest people in the room. And I quote Confucius here, if you are the smartest person in this room, gentlemen, you are in the wrong room. We have to give it a thought. Always remember that hubris or pride breeds temporary admiration, but permanent adversity. Humility breeds temporary skepticism. People feel ये तो बहुत कमजोर है, ये तो कुछ बोलता ही नहीं, ये तो चुप है, इसकी ज़बान ही नहीं है. Be humble. You will get permanent support, not just from your family, but from your peers, from your mentors, and your role models. The power of humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less. It's thinking more of others. Humble people are focused on serving others. They don't think of themselves. It's always we for humble people. It's a shared decision between a humble doctor and the patient. It's never me. It's not what I think you need. It's what we think is better for you. When we replaces me, illness, I will replace we, and illness will be taken care of by wellness. Unity grows when we pair. Love grows when we share. Relationships grow when we care. And together, our strength will grow when we dare. Difficult decisions have to be informed, shared decisions. Always remember the cave you fear to enter, something you've never done, but that's the only thing that will work for this patient. That's where the treasure is that you seek. Compassion is far beyond sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is I feel for you, empathy is I feel with you. Compassion is I am here 24/7, 365 to help you. We just see the outside, the world sees the within. When you turn around is what is within us, and that is what we have to fight and see, not just in us, but in our patients. Remember to practice empathy. When you're alone, mind your thoughts. When you're with friends, mind your tongue. That's the only part of the human body that can be sweet. When you're angry, mind your temper. When you're in a group, mind your behavior. When you're in trouble, mind your emotions. And finally, when God starts blessing you, mind your ego. Ego is ego, ejecting God out. Remember, be like the rising sun. Burn yourself, but spread more light than heat each day. You are here to spread the light. You are here to be a star in the sky, a candle in the dark. Accept everything, but expect nothing in return. Remember that. Let go of your expectations. Let go of all the attachments to outcomes. Practice not for income, but for a good outcome for the patient. Having said that, finally, you have to practice with detached involvement. You are there, but you are not there. You have to have nishkam karma, much beyond doing kriya. Don't just do a contact with the patient. Connect with them. And finally, karmanye vadika raste ma phaleshu kadachana. Something that everybody knows, even if they have not read the Bhagavad Gita. Let not the fruits of your action be your motive, nor let your attachment be to inaction. We have to do karma. We have to avoid vikarma, and at times practice akarma, which is inaction. You are unique and so am I. None of you are superior, none of us are inferior, but we are unique. We have to improve ourselves rather than prove. We are competing with ourselves, not with anybody else. I have to be better today than yesterday and tomorrow better than today. That's the way forward. Each one of you should have a passion for your purpose, compassion for your colleagues. That's where empathy begins. And dispassion for the designation. You're sitting in a chair temporarily, not forever. And finally, you are not the doer. You are just an instrument of a much, much higher force. Strive in your effort, then surrender to His grace. Be vulnerable, be scared, be fearful. Don't be overconfident. Be like that river that enters the ocean. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled from the peaks of the mountains and the long winding road across forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter, there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will the fear disappear, because that's where the river will know, each one of you will know, it's not about disappearing into the ocean. It's about becoming the ocean. We are basically empathetic, humane human beings. That's the only message I have. And I hope and pray that I have given you a reminder, and the message I have given today will live much longer than I would remain as a messenger. Thank you all for a very, very patient hearing.